Okay, I am Agnès Raymond. I am a pediatrician, a French pediatrician. I've been working in the European Medicines Agency now for 14 years, and I was in charge of the implementation of the pediatric regulation at the European Medicines Agency, the EMA, and as such, I have been involved in GRIP as a partner. So as a member of the European agency, we are not involved in legislation making. It's an initiative of the European Commission, then the approval goes through the Council of Ministers and the European Parliament. Our role in this process, and my role in particular, has been to provide some expert input into the work of the Commission. So when they were drafting the legislation and during the discussion, I attended some of the meetings, not at the European Parliament in fact, but at the level of the Council. And when it comes to the amendment, we have been providing some expert input, that's all. Well, of course, implementing a legislation is about planning, designing the process. So it covers many aspects, in fact. The first one was to, because we are a regulatory agency, was to cover the procedures. So we designed the procedure according to the legal timelines, for example, and the people who should be involved. We set up the committee for pediatric medicines, the PDCO, now it's called. We also created a database of the procedure, but also of the scientific content, allowing us. We gave advice to the Commission on the guidelines, on the submission of pediatric investigation plan, and then we started working on the science that was associated. We had already worked, for example, on the guideline on small trials, when the number of patients is limited, and that you have to look at the statistical aspect, methodology aspects. We also looked at modeling and simulation, in particular for pharmacokinetics, but also for disease modeling. We worked on extrapolation. We worked on a number of topics. We also contributed as rapporteur for the ethics guideline on pediatric trials. So in addition, we had to set up the network of pediatric research, the EMPREMA network, which was set up over the first years of the implementation. We also started the collaboration immediately with the Food and Drug Administration in the United States. So we had monthly teleconference from the beginning of the implementation of the pediatric regulation. And this meant that we were discussing the content of the investigation plans with them. Little by little, we added other participants, Japan first, and Health Canada, and soon Australia, so that the idea of a global approach to pediatric medicines development. And in parallel, we also had activities with the World Health Organization, the WHO. So the biggest challenges for the legislation was the complexity of and the novelty of this aspect. The US had some pediatric initiative since 1997, so there were some elements that we could use, but in fact our program was far more ambitious. So we had to invent a lot of things, to involve a number of experts in the work, and to identify the main issues that were completely new. We, I would say, two of the main challenges were, or maybe, yeah, two, start again. In particular, the main challenges were the neonatal, I start again. Okay, the challenges we identified were multiple. One of the first was the neonatal studies, and in particular the need to define the number of neonates to be involved, the endpoints to use, the methodology, and this is still an area where a lot of work is ongoing. We have not succeeded so well in pediatric oncology because the main adult cancers are not the same as the pediatric cancers, and we have been obliged in a way to give waivers than the law, and whereas the needs in children are still not covered. At the same time, we have been facing a lot of complexity, and we have discovered the complexity of pediatric trials, which was not so well identified in the past. But when you want to be systematically covering all age groups, you realize that you need multiple trials. And that is clearly a cost and a burden to industry. It's a cost and a burden for patients as well. But at the end, what we want is good data, evidence-based medicines. So the success of the legislation have been real and evidenced by data. The ultimate goal of the legislation is to produce medicine that are available for children with proper information. We have delivered a number of medicines, and in particular we have delivered pediatric specific formulations that are appropriate for the delivery of the medicine at the right dose. We have also contributed a lot of information on safety of medicines and a number of new indications in children, either straight away for new drugs approved with a pediatric indication immediately, or with an indication that is given in a second time. That is the first thing. We have set up a network of research of pediatric medicines, the EMPREMA, and this is collaborative work which is ongoing and helps at the European level and even international level to deliver good trials of good quality. So we have defined good quality trials. We have defined the criteria by which the networks can be involved in that EMPREMA network. We have also worked on research and trials, but also on not doing trials. That's why we have developed the scientific aspect of modeling and simulation, but also something which is quite new and was really triggered by the pediatric regulation, which is the work on extrapolation. When you reuse the data either from adults or from older age group in order to inform and to reduce the number of children to be involved in a trial, or to overall not do a trial and completely reuse the data for another population. And this is a completely new area. Okay, one of the successes has been, for example, an area where there were no products for children was the area of pediatric rheumatology. And what we've seen in the recent years is 8 products authorized for children, specifically authorized for children based on evidence. And I think this is a big progress because it was identified as one of the disease areas where there were greater needs, and we had nothing to offer to children apart from an old product, methotrexate, which was not optimal. And now we have all these biologicals that are coming. We still have issues with the long-term safeties and want proper monitoring of long-term safety. But the new products that have been authorized are meeting some of the needs, and in many different areas: juvenile idiopathic arthritis, lupus, dermatomyositis. So I think it's a big progress, and one of the examples where we see the success in figures and in evidence. I think GRIP can achieve a lot. One thing that is a clear gap in what we've been doing is when it comes to pediatric trials, we do not have so many people who are properly trained to do pediatric trials. Once again, pediatrics is more complicated than adult trials. You have a lot of additional requirements that need to be managed in a proper way to do an ethical, scientifically valid, and acceptable trial. So for this reason, I think GRIP, by providing a training program to the clinicians that are involved in research with children, is an excellent thing. What we want to develop is also the involvement of patients and not just academics, but also the involvement of patients into that work, which is also a new thing. Having children giving an opinion on the design of trials and on the analysis of and participating in the design of the trial is really a new thing, and we want to promote this aspect. So they are really active participants to their own treatment and benefit from research.